Yeah.
Oh no!
Matt, what the hell was that?
Wasn't me, Coach. Welcome to the Straight Red Card. Get off our lawn.
Welcome to the Straight Red Card, or welcome back. Hey, make sure you like, subscribe, and I don't know if you want to share this show with your grandma. It might make her sick. But otherwise, share it with others who can handle sort of the sad state of affairs that we're going to discuss tonight. And we're going to go through the real timeline because I'm sick and tired of watching motherfuckers on other shows fuck up this timeline.
I do want to specify
constantly
that the timeline that we're presenting is how we have seen the evidence and it's being portrayed, at least in our minds. And I think we're pretty fucking spot on.
Dude, we like Pete's gotten it right. Even he's fucking in Switzerland. I remember I told you he was in Germany. Well, now he's in Switzerland. And he when he was in Germany, we were texting and he told me I'm in Germany, so I'm not going to be back for a while. But then I thought that Tack did a pretty good job and a very tactful job, even though it's like everybody's like, oh, Reyna apologist. He didn't do any apologizing for the Reynas. But then there's like 1,000 soccer shows suddenly on YouTube that I've never heard of, that have been up for 10 hours and have like 99 views. I've never heard of any of these people. And then there are all these sports shows covering it too, like Dan Lebitard's show. And I'm like, what? This is insane. And
what are we doing here?
Nobody knows the actual timeline. There's talking out of order. And then if I hear the word blackmail again today, I'm going to throw a fucking brick through somebody's window. I don't know whose. There's no such thing as fucking there's no blackmail.
We'll get to this.
Not blackmail.
Yeah.
Look up the fucking definition by law and even just the normal definition in Webster's.
Well,
all right.
I mean, outside of this situation making me sad, along with Tight Shirt Twelman. Twelman's also sad. Outside of making us sad, there are other things that are making me sad, as in Berlin's going to have to miss the show because he's got lady duties to go to.
Fucking girlfriends. Well, at least there's more than one of them. Good for you, buddy. Or did you mean to have an apostrophe after that D? Fucking girlfriends and their damn desires. Oh, you're okay. Yeah, girlfriends, I guess. That would be a normal S.
Or is Berlin saying that his girlfriends want some, but he's like, nah, bro, I got to stay for this podcast.
Hey, you can do her while you watch the broadcast.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that, as long as she is, and she's, not.
I mean, I personally think I get better looking as I drink, so maybe that does for too. Who knows?
Probably a bad trait to have.
60% of the time it works all the time.
Do we have anything we want? Oh, the turd. Yes, of course. The turd in the background. By the way, the turds people came after me. They haven't got me yet, but they did leave a message on my door and called me a jizz stain.
I mean, this message, huh?
Yes. You're lucky you weren't home.
I thought this was the Serbians. I thought the Serbians found you finally.
No, this was the
years since the day.
It's the USSF Gestapo. But anyhow, they were I bet you they were wearing hobnail boots too. Anyhow, I wasn't home, thankfully.
Woo!
And so anyhow, the turd in the background says, welcome back to the Straight Red Card. What a crazy 48 hours this has been. GGG and Matt Miazga. Kicking things you shouldn't kick. Don't mess with Danielle Reyna. I did, and she called me a turd. Did she? I think she's above your pay grade, Michael Cameraman. I think she goes straight to Ernie. Whoa, wait, there's evidence she goes straight to Ernie. Anyhow, we'll get to that because we're going to go through the whole fucking timeline as it actually happened. We're not going to leave out parts like the part before the World Cup, even started getting underway, and Greg already had told Reyna that he wasn't going to play much. That's an important starting point.
Do we take the turd kind of for a second comment kind of went to a bit of dark humor?
Well, it's up
to address it.
If it's up to you, Brett, if you think it's appropriate or not. Remember, you're the monitor, and I am not watching the comments.
He followed it up with saying, I hope Brett reads my comments. They may be over the line.
Yeah, okay, then they're probably over the line. You know, if we really wanted to take this in a sequential manner, wouldn't we really have to start at the fight? All right, Hoosiers, I gave up good sex for the show tonight. Make it good, because I bought 2 cases of KY jelly.
Amazon Germany, apparently.
That's my preference, too. If we're going to really take this, Brett, are you listening or are you just watching the chat?
I'm listening, yes, but I'm making sure that what the chat is saying, basically. But yes, go ahead.
I mean, I can barely hear you over your dog. But he's in the background making some serious snoring noises. But if we were going to do this in a sequential manner, wouldn't we have to start at the actual fight in
fair enough. We can start there. I mean,
because people got to know how this went down. I know.
Fight. Hold on. Let's not get into it yet.
All right.
We got a couple things we need to address here.
All right. Jose Reyes, $10. Thank you, Jose. Cheers, boys. Welcome to the show that will cover the best because of common sense. Love you, Tack and Pete, but this is a Brett and Derek topic. Pour the drinks and let's buckle down, boys. You know we're loaded. That's cheers to you, Jose.
Appreciate it, Jose.
All right. Anything else we need to take care of?
Scroll down to the rest of the chat.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, I lost a lot of the comments there because I was paused on the turd for so long.
Okay.
But, okay. Yeah,
all right.
We're going to skip our normal 30 to 40 minute hoopla of garbage tier topics. Yeah. The circle jerking before actually getting into the topic, because I feel like this is already going to be like a 2-hour show without it. So.
Oh, let's not do 2 hours. I think we can wrap this up in a good hour and a half. Brett and Derek, I know. I watched it. Dixon Cider did get tagged. And listen, we were going to probably make that part of the show, but I think we forgot about it with all the hoopla going on.
Too much shit to go, yeah. I mean, the last 40 hours has been crazy.
But I did watch it, Kevin, and I don't know if it was you because we haven't really figured out who did it yet. We want to know, but we haven't figured it out yet.
I still can't believe he got with Dixon Cider because he laughed at Pete for getting got.
I know, and he even said on the show, I'm going to get shit from the Straight Red Car guys for this. So, yeah, we'll get back to you. And that is the first guy to get caught this year.
Yeah. And somebody called Dixon Cider a fraud. He's no longer Dixon Cider since he got Pete Antac. He's a masturbator.
All right. Well, it's not debating much. Anyhow, so let's go back in time, right? Let's rewind back to 1991. In 1990,
should I pull up the timeline?
Yeah, 1991. I was 20 years old. But that's not on our timeline.
Not even 10 yet.
Yeah, we don't cover. No, I mean, nobody's really talked about that incident. And with Daniela saying in her comments to The Athletic that it's a lot worse than the Berhalters are making it out to be, and with people going like me, the first thought I thought was he kicked her. How the hell did that happen?
What a giant pussy. Yeah, I think he was trying to kick a water bottle off her head, actually. Missed.
No, I don't think so.
That's what it was, right?
I think he watched too much Karate Kid was the first thing to hit my brain. And he was doing one of those, standing on
crane
one leg
kicks, a little bit of crane kicking.
Bam! But let's really be honest about what really happened here. Because, all right, I'll give you an example. When I was 20 years old and I had a girlfriend named Heather, not going to say her last name because we went out for like 6 years. This was in college and we went out for a few drinks, right? Well, we got pretty blasted. All right. And what happened was that during this drunken state, while we were eating wings and drinking too much, she asked me, so how did you enjoy hanging out with Wendy? So I had just moved to Bloomington to move in with her. And I didn't have any friends yet. So I hung out with her friends. And for whatever, shut up. And for whatever reason, she hooked me up with Wendy and said, hey, go hang out and play cards with Wendy. She's got nothing to do tonight. And I'm like, because Heather's going to work. I'm like, okay, I'll go over there.
You're more of a Taco Bell type of guy, right?
No. And so we hung out. Shut up, Brett. All right. So we hung out and nothing happened with Wendy. Wendy was hot. Don't get me wrong. So I don't know what Heather was doing.
Redhead. Yeah.
No, Heather was the redhead. And so we go out like a week after this, and she asked me, so if it would have all come down to it, and like Wendy made a move on you, would you have done something? Would you have, And I said, well, that's an odd question to ask me. I haven't really thought about it. And the fact that I said and thought about it was enough to piss her off right away. She said, well, you got to think about that? So I can't trust you hanging out with any of my girlfriends? I'm like, no. I was just thinking, like, how do I answer this? She's like, bullshit. She called me out. We got a big argument. All right. We left because we were getting loud. We're walking back to our apartment, and this is like 2 a.m. And all of a sudden somebody jacks me right in the jaw. It was Heather. She fucking hauled off on me. We were walking side by side. She just went, bam, hit me kind of in the side right here. And I went, oh, holy fuck. Did you just fucking punch me? And then there were guys across the street who were yelling, Miss, are you okay? I'm like, what do you mean, Miss? Okay.
Yeah, like one swollen eye, big fat lip. What are you talking about?
I'm the one that just got jacked. Anyhow, we walked home. We made up. No big deal. I didn't file any charges against her. Of course, this is the opposite situation here, but I do see it. That's kind of like 2 people drinking too much, having an argument. God knows what they could be arguing about in 1991. I don't understand what the topic was, or they'd only been going out for 3 months, right? As
I think Greg refused to go out on the dance floor with her.
I mean, did somebody cheat on somebody? I don't know what happened.
Turn around for a reunion. That was only 7 months after being cheated on and kicked. I don't know about that.
No, well, so they've only been going out 3 months at this time.
Berhalter's like, hey, can we go Dutch on the bill? It's getting pretty pricey. It's like,
no, that's not what happened.
Motherfucker.
Jesus. So they go outside, they take the argument outside, and what do you think? Greg just kicked her? No. I'm sure she came at him like, motherfucker, I'm going to hit your ass or slap you or kick you or whatever. And Greg probably went, hey, what the fuck you doing? And at some point, he fucking pushed her. She fell over into the grass, and then he probably kicked her once, maybe twice. I don't know how many times he kicked her. He said once in the legs.
I think he swept the legs.
Well, he said he kicked her in the legs. Does that mean he kicked her twice, one in each leg, or did he kick her once? We don't know. But that's probably how that all played out. Let's be really honest. So, no, we're not assuming anything. We are, what do they call that? Thinking about what probably happened. We don't know. We weren't there.
I guess that might be the definition of assuming, though, Derek.
No, I'm not assuming shit. I'm not assuming that what I just said is the truth.
I get what you're saying.
I'm not saying what I just said is exactly what happened. I'm just saying that's probably a more likely description of why Greg ends up kicking her in the legs, which otherwise is very weird. So you're arguing with your girlfriend and you just kick her in the leg? That makes no fucking sense at all. So something else went down there, and it was probably a little messier than they made it. I had an argument and I kicked her in the legs. Well, no man does that. Nobody has an argument with his girlfriend and then just
kicked her in the shin and then walked away.
Fuck it, I'm going to kick her in the legs, this bitch.
Yeah.
I'm going to show her. No, nobody does that. So there was some sort of thing that's, happened there. But no, I don't assume that my scenario, as I laid it out, is the truth. It's just a general example of what probably or could have happened.
And if you want to take Danielle's word on this, she talked about how it was worse than what's being portrayed.
Well, that's what she said.
It wasn't just we got in a heated argument. I kicked her in the leg.
That's just
not like that.
That's just so weird. That description of the way they put it out. We got in this argument. It got heated. We went outside and I kicked her in the leg. What the fuck? What do you mean?
In true straight red card fashion, I think what happened is she said that he had a tiny penis and he got pissed off and kicked her in the leg.
Well, she would know after 3 months, And then if that didn't, well, he wasn't bald then. That's the thing. So that wouldn't work as a second insert. All right. So let's move on to our timeline now that we've cleared up what generally might have happened. I
guess before we get to the timeline itself, we should definitely specify that there was a 7-month period where Greg thought he lost his soulmate. And then she came back after she said she talked with her family and her friends. They all supported her. He got counseling. They moved on. They've married each other for like the last 25 years. They have 4 kids. Clearly, everybody's moved on to the situation, but it doesn't take away from the fact that it happened.
It's very odd that Rosalind had shared this with her parents, and then later on, 7 months later, said, "Hey, you know that dude that kicked me? I want to go back out with him." And they're like, "Yeah, that's cool." That's weird, dude. I don't know. As Tax said, "You kicked my daughter? You better never go near her again." I don't have a daughter. I have 2 sons, so I don't know what it feels like, but I can only imagine.
So again, taking into consideration that something may have happened prior to the kicking, let's just say. Let's say your daughter was saying, "Oh, we were in the heated argument. I was hitting him in the face," and then he did it.
Well, they knew the whole story. Maybe they had more sympathy for it. I don't know. Maybe she was.
If this is what you really want to do, but it's going to be a long time before I like this guy.
Yeah, and which is really funny because in Danielle's comments, Danielle Reynas' comments, she said it took me a long time to find grace for Greg. Well, obviously not. Obviously not. You did not find grace for him. I mean, apparently you did, and now you don't. I don't know. It's just weird, but we'll get to all that. All right, so few support a woman returning to an abusive relationship. Very few do. I think, I don't know. I've never hit a woman, and so I haven't had the experience of that. But I can tell you one thing: if I did do something, I know one time I threw a bottle across the room. It bounced off the wall and hit Heather in the head. But it was a plastic bottle, and it was obviously an accident. But you know, did I tell my parents? Like Greg said he told his parents. He told I'm assuming he said his family. So that would include his brother, Jay. Like I just said, that would include his brother, Jay. He told his family, his brother, Jay. Shit, he apparently told everybody. And then he went into counseling. And by counseling, I would like to see some sort of, like, where did you go to counseling? Like, seriously, where would someone go to counseling in 1991 on the North Carolina? I just want to know, because I read that and went, bullshit. You didn't go to counseling. You just talked to some friends who counseled you, and you're calling that counseling. That's what happened. Don't you think? You think he got up the next morning and went, "Man, I got to go to counseling"?
Maybe it might have been a stipulation saying, "Hey, you know, we could try to rekindle this and get back together, but you need to go and address this."
That's not what it sounded like in his.
I don't disagree. It sounded like it was his choice, and it could have been pure speculation. But we brought up Al's comment about few support women returning to an abusive relationship, and I bring up Berlin's comment here about who fucking knows and who fucking cares. 31 years ago, 4 kids later, blah blah blah.
Yeah, I get all that.
But that only reason I'm bringing this up is that's 2 ends of the spectrums as far as the splitting that's occurring right now, as far as who's picking what sides. That tends to be the argument. It's you're either, it was like 31 years ago, who fucking cares, or dude, he had a fucking woman. So
yeah, I mean, listen,
those are generally the 2 sides of the argument. We're
trying to give you context, and there's got to be some nuance to all of this because it is 31 years later. They do have 4 kids. He apparently doesn't hit her or kick her anymore, or hasn't since 1991. And this isn't the reason he should be not re-signed. And how many people today said fired? Fucking Christ, he's not signed, so he's not going to be fired. He's not
his
employed. Contract ended.
He's an independent contractor. He didn't get it renewed as of yet.
This is mostly people who don't know soccer very well. So anyhow, we got the 1991 fight. And then we've got Greg tells Gio before the friendly that his role is going to be limited this World Cup. Per Gio's response, this is before the World Cup started. This is before their friendly against the Saudi Arabian team or whoever the fuck they played. I can't remember.
Yes, it was one of the club teams there, yeah.
Qatari club teams?
Yeah.
And yeah, he sulked. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's what he did. It was bad. It was immature. Yeah. But why is Greg telling him this? I don't understand that. Most of us thought Gio would play a significant role in this World Cup.
What's funny is you bring that up because I got into I wouldn't say argument. It was just a back and forth. You know, actually quite casual back and forth with a guy on Twitter. He said, "Assume it's a guy." Sorry, I don't mean to be assuming gender but I assume it's a guy. But he basically had said like, Gio's acted immature and shouldn't be back on the team. I'm like, well, and I specified, I was like, do you think Berhalter at every window goes up to players and saying, yeah, you're probably not going to play much this window?
Yeah, dude. Listen.
Or do you think it may have been specific towards Gio in this situation? Maybe there's expectations, and he's like, hey, and maybe it is in good faith in the sense of saying, you're just coming off of an injury, you're going to have a limited role. We already got our starting 11. We'll see what happens with the subs type of thing. But the big question is, do you think he does it to the other players? Do you think he gives them that every window? And the guy responded, he goes, no, I'm sure he gave it to Morris and Roldan. I'm like, well, the problem is we're with this argument is we're lumping Gio in with Morris and Roldan in this situation.
Yeah, and Morris did play, so there's that. And there are other people on the team that know they're not going to play. This is like, okay, you're in high school and a bunch of your friends get together and they're like, hey man, we're going to take a trip to Las Vegas and then other parts of Nevada. Guess what? We rented a fucking, like, we're going to stay in a whorehouse for a week. And you're like, oh my God, you're in high school. You're like, shit's ready to go. You're like, oh my God, this is going to be awesome. A week in a whorehouse. And then you get there and you find out it's for fucking prostitutes 60 and over. All right. And you're like, oh, come on. What? That's how Reyna felt. He got to the party. He got to the warehouse and he was told, no, all these bitches are 68 years old. He's like, but I'm a young man. I need young women. This isn't going to work for me. And that's what happened to poor Reyna when he got, before he even really got to dip his toe into the World Cup. Ken P, share your timeline on GG's new Twitter account.
I can't. His Twitter account doesn't allow responses, but I can quote tweet it, which what's the point at that point?
Yeah, but it was developed on the day that they put out their little whole spiel about yeah. So Gio sulks. Yes, Greg becomes frustrated and threatens to send him home.
That's all via the spiel at the seminar.
At the immoral conference, yes. And then he offers him a chance to apologize. Now, the good question here could be, did he tell him he had to apologize? Or did he recommend that he apologize?
I think I'm pretty sure he said, you're going to go home or you apologize. And
yes. Right.
Sit down with teammates.
And he
whatever.
Said, all right, I hate this fucking whorehouse he sent me to, but I will apologize. And he did in front of the whole team.
And at that point, and to use Tim Ream's quote, I thought about bringing it up. I didn't. But he's like, hey, it happened. He apologized. It's over. Right?
Already, yes.
It's over.
It's supposed to be over there.
We all move on at this point.
At this time, soon after this time, it kind of in between this is people reporting that they saw Danielle Reyna upset at the World Cup. Crying at the World Cup. This has to be fixed or something along those lines. Yeah.
Which
more than one source, by the way.
Could have been the inclusion that Greg was willing to ship Reyna home. It's like it's got to be fixed. What can happen here,
And her telling somebody else, why didn't he just fucking work it out with my son, basically, one-on-one? Why embarrass him in front of the whole team? Why not just take him on one-on-one, fix this shit? Their family, at this point, the Reynas are getting upset. Claudia's calling Winalda and McBride and Ernie and voicing his displeasure. And that's a no-no, by the way. I don't think that they should have done that. I think if they're friends with Berhalter, I think you wait till Berhalter gets home from practice and you give him a phone call and say, hey, Greg, what's going on, man? What's going on with you and my son? Just tell me the facts.
Is he being a petulant brat? I'll go over there and kick him across his head. This didn't have to go the way it did. And I guess to be fair, so Greg was ready to ship him home. He convened with his staff, and they said, basically they came to the conclusion, let's give him another chance. He apologized.
They took a vote.
Well, yeah.
All 26
of
them, 26 convenient people voted there to make it look like the team voted when the USF leaked that at first, where they lied. This is where you got to be careful because USSF has leaked bullshit, so much of it that you can't even read Jeff Carlisle's article anymore without noticing it's been edited 3,000 times.
Edit.
Because as he's gone along, he's had other sources call him and say, that's not how that shit happened, dude. So Jeff had this all, to Claudio fucking making all this mess when now it's Danielle. But anyhow,
you guys, we're gonna start diving into this a little bit more in depth later with some like screen caps and stuff like that. This is just to go over the timeline right now.
Yeah, but and we're adding some other thoughts about it.
Sure,
when all those comments on G's
response,
which basically is GGG said Reynas not playing because he's injured, and yeah, so that was a lie. That's another lie. It's bullshit. Maybe he's trying to cover for Gio and didn't want to say he's not playing because he's a fucking petulant child. I don't know, but he lied. Gio's time is limited. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't know. You're saying who lied here?
Greg lied.
Oh, Greg lied. Okay.
He wasn't injured.
Okay, I'm with you. Okay.
Whenever you start lying, you are fucking yourself. You cannot lie about those kind of basic things. It's going to come back and get you.
I will add my 2 cents to this whole debacle here, as far as whether or not Berhalter asked Reynas to lie, and then Berhalter came back and goes, "Guys, you know who I am. Do you think I would ask Gio to lie?" So my thought process is, and this is pure speculation, of course, is that they had the blowout. Gio apologized. The team said, "Hey, you got to do better. You got to do this, X, Y, and Z." All water under the bridge. Greg said, "You're sitting out against
Yep.
Wales."
Yep.
I'm going to tell all the reporters that you're injured, and that'll be that. So then he goes and tells everybody he's injured, and Gio's like, "Well, he doesn't have to give me a reason why he didn't play me. I'm perfectly 100% fine." So I think that's what the issue is. Maybe in this situation, Ronaldo was hinting at, maybe Berhalter assumed that Gio would just go along with that. If I'm putting 2 and 2 together here, again, I'm not saying this is 100% accurate. This is me speculating, people.
It's very possible.
Yeah.
He announced what he was going to use as his excuse and didn't ask for Reyna's approval, Gio's approval. So his time's limited in the World Cup, and then the World Cup ends. All right. And then right after the fucking World Cup, Greg's getting paid $25,000. I think it's $50,000. $50,000 to go to
$25. Fuck yeah, I'll do it.
To go to this immoral leadership conference and speak of his immoral leadership, which is what he did. And because, which he was actually doing at the conference, he's even said now he shouldn't have done. So he was being a bad leader at a leadership conference. And it's hilarious. Now, people are all day. Who's this guy? Jeff Pettibone, who's been on everybody's goddamn up their grill on every show, posting in the comments saying, he never mentioned him by name. He never mentioned him by name. He says it like 100 times. No, he didn't have to mention him by name. Anybody who knew anything knew that he was talking about Reyna. I did. Brett did. Pete did. Kat did. Everybody.
Jeff.
Oh.
Hey, Jeff.
So, Jeff, we all knew. He didn't have to use his name. He just should have never told the story. That's what we're saying, man.
He had a plethora of stories he could have told over the course of his career, but he opened up a scab, a recently healed scab, and he didn't say his name, but
everybody knew.
Like, I think that's distinct. Yeah.
I still talk to some of the guys that actually do reporting, and they all knew right away. Everyone knew. He didn't have to use his name. Now, this other thing is that he thought it was supposed to be, Greg thought, undercover, like
off the record, in front of 200 plus immoral leaders. And then you said, I think you brought up the technical situation that happened that kind of screwed that up for him. So here on the 11th, the Athletic had announced that the actual seminar published it to the Athletic.
Yes.
Now, then they came back and they said, well, they published it when they shouldn't have. Not the Athletic. The Athletic did everything perfectly fine, but how published it to the press when they shouldn't have, because it was supposed to be off the records.
But somebody had to sign off on that being published, because this was in a conspiracy by Hal to get Greg in trouble. They thought what he said was spectacular, so they wanted to publish it, right? We're just after the World Cup. This will give their conference more attention. Did Greg have in writing, because I've spoken at conferences, when you go to conferences and people aren't allowed to record what you say and make a CD and share it with all their friends, there's a fucking agreement that you signed. No, you cannot make a copy of what I say. No, you cannot publish what I say. No, it's proprietary and it's my shit. So there's that. I don't know if he signed that kind of an agreement. And if he did sign that agreement and they published it anyhow, he should probably have some trouble with those people. The problem is those people know a lot of people in very high places. So Greg's not going to fuck with them. Keyshawn, I hope it's Keyshawn Johnson.
Hey.
He had to know someone was recording. Yeah. And
everybody's got a fucking phone.
Everyone's got a phone, even if they're told to turn their phones off. If I'm Greg, and Greg's admitted it now, he said, "Yep, I should have never talked about it. Should never brought it up. It was a bad mistake.
Yeah,
I would take it back if I could." Well, it's too late.
You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
No,
can't do it.
So then after that, Danielle flies.
Same day it was published. Yeah,
same day. Danielle hears about it. It's published in the news. She flies off the handle, starts throwing shit across the living room, breaking fucking dishes. Pissed off. Now, I don't know if she really did all that, but she was obviously very angry.
Yeah.
So she called to vent to Ernie. Now, the original report by Jeff Carlisle had this as a Danielle and Claudio call. We were later told, no, it was just fucking Danielle. Now, if you have a family of Danielle and Claudio and you want to talk to people at U.S. Soccer, can't you pick one point person, or does Danielle and Claudio have to call Ernie Stewart? Why can't it just be one of them? I don't know. That's a good question. This is parenting gone awry for a guy who is, by all measures, a man now and shouldn't have his mommy and daddy doing this stuff behind his back.
Well, and as I'll allude later or talk about later, but this is all just this is the plot for a soap opera called U.S. Soccer. At this point, it's all personal. None of it's aiming to accomplish anything. It's just people are incredibly butthurt and they are burning bridges is what it is.
Well, yes. And it's like World War One, all the countries' leaders were related to each other. And they said, let's let millions of people die and let's fight against each other. This is incestuous.
My point was simply that they really had nothing to, it had something to do with Gio, but it had nothing to do for Gio, if you will.
No,
these are two good families of friends that are butthurt about insert whatever it started. I still don't believe I still don't believe it actually started with the telling of Gio that he wasn't going to play much. I can't fathom that was the start of it all. You don't burn 30 years of a relationship over the course of something as stupid as that. It had to have started earlier. Pinpricks all the way up to it.
There's more to all this for sure. I don't doubt that.
I mean, I don't know what it is.
I think that this was the spark that started the eventual complete separation.
The last straw.
The last straw in the friendship. And after that, the shit went totally downhill. So Danielle talks to Ernie, tells Ernie, hey, I'm really pissed off about what Greg said. Can you make that motherfucker shut up? And I want you to shut up and not talk about my son anymore. And also, by the way, it's ridiculous that Greg would even say that my son's immature because guess what? He was an immature fucker too. And he did even something worse, something my son hasn't done. He beat up his girlfriend who became his wife later.
And then the ears perked up and they said, excuse me, what? What was that? What?
And Ernie, I'm sure, was like, holy shit, why goddamn. Now, there are all these new rules in businesses now. And if you hear something like that about somebody that works for you or is going to work for you maybe again, then your job, this shit has to go to HR. I can't blame Ernie. It's got to go to HR at this point.
The problem is given the whole NWSL debacle about violence and inappropriate behavior.
Oh yeah,
all that shit.
Especially after that.
They've taken up a more transparent approach.
Oh, come
And
on.
so they get word, just a breeze of a domestic violence. Doesn't matter that happened 31 years ago. It's just a breeze. Here, like what he did, what? Oh well, we got to do an investigation now, and now it's out in the public.
Well, and here's the thing: what do you got to investigate? She just told you what happened. Greg just comes out later and says, "Yeah, I did it." What are you going to do? Have like private dicks crawl up his ass to see if the story of that night is like the real story? Somebody jammed up in a notebook somewhere up in his butt? No, it's over. It's 31 years. It's past. Probably no one. Listen, we didn't even have little phony things where we could take photos and do videos of our friends, doing domestic violence on each other. We couldn't do that to document, things like that. So anyhow, but I would really like to know if Danielle was there that night, because it sounds like she was. It sounds like she was, the way she's talking. It wouldn't surprise me if she was. But she's also said she was there to comfort her afterwards, and that because otherwise I don't know how she can say it was worse than what they're letting on. Unless she came home with bruises all over her, that's another story. But I mean, if you're going to say that to The Athletic later on, shouldn't you say why you thought it was a lot worse? Were you there?
Well, I mean, she was a roommate. Know. She was roommate and best friends, and played with her at North Carolina. So, I mean, at that point, if it was worse than just a bruised shin from being kicked by Berhalter, then I imagine that
shins. He said legs.
Yeah. So
legs.
My point is that she would, even if she wasn't necessarily there, she would have heard the story. She would have seen the effects of it and everything like that. And it wasn't just I got mad and I kicked her in the legs.
Yeah. So. I'd like to, I mean, if Danielle's going to take it this far and say it's a lot worse, then just tell us fucking what happened. Otherwise, shut the fuck up, because you're not making this better. You're making it worse. Basically, you're just, anyhow, yeah. So, USSF opens its stupid, dumbass investigation.
Let's hit Dan up real quick.
Dan? Oh, hey, Dan. I'm sorry. I'm so focused on what I'm supposed to read. Dan, $25.84. $5. Thank you, my man.
Appreciate it, man.
Love your content. Keep it up. Can we watch Tax Super Chat from Mr. Dixon and his cider farm? Pete would love to watch it. Tweeted you timestamp. Oh,
thank you. I was going to ask if somebody could tweet that to me.
Sweet ass. This is why we love you guys.
Let's see.
And by the way, I just want to say to Jeff, because I was kind of ridiculing him for posting on every show for the same remarks all the time. Hey, dude, that's what we do here. We bust balls. So if you want to bust ours, go for it. We're down.
Dan, did you say you tweeted it at me? Or did you tweet it to Derek?
Yeah, don't send it to me. I'm only on there like 2 hours at a time, 3 times a week, maybe at best. 6 hours a week is what I spend on there.
If somebody wants to at me the timestamp or the clip, I will put it up and we can watch it and have a good jolly laugh on this serious topic.
Haven't we all been having fun on Twitter together? I never knew I would have fun on Twitter, but so far so good. All right.
It's only going to take one moment for you to hate Twitter and all of a sudden burn it down.
I know. I'm trying to be careful.
Again, Dan, thanks for the $5. And again, if you want to make sure you tweet me that'd be great.
So yeah, there have been times on Twitter where I've gone to where someone's attacked you, and I thought I'm gonna fuck this guy up. But then I read your response, and I'm like, yeah, I think Brett's
doing okay.
Brett handled
so
it.
Since we're talking about this, we had a fun story. Some guy ended up telling me on Twitter on one of the times I supported TAC against the U.S. pundits that we all sound like teenage girls. And
yeah,
we need to find a new hobby. And I go, yeah, you know what? I'm having a lot of fun here. I'm good, thanks. And he went on to explain how much of a teenage girl we are. We bitch, we complain, we gossip.
Then he called us old women.
And then I was just like, his name was Jimmy. And I go, hey, sorry, Jimmy. I left my pom-poms back at school and it's Christmas break. So if you don't like the content, that's perfectly fine. Just hit mute and go about your life. Leave us alone. He goes, done. I'm like.
And then I came on later and called him a misogynist.
Yeah.
For calling us little girls and old women. So there we go. There's me doing my job.
How dare he assume our gender?
I'm sorry.
Twice I had to say that, damn it.
he seems to have a big problem with women and girls. So
Yeah.
I don't know what his problem is with them, but at least I hope he doesn't kick them. All right, so where were we? USS opens its stupid investigation on the 11th, even though they pretty much know everything they need to know at this time, per commitment to transparency of violence due to the NWSL debacle. Gio's response comes the next day, where he's like, hey, dude, I thought what we said in the locker room. Listen, I'm paraphrasing all this shit, so we don't have to have, like every other show, all the text on the screen all the time. So Gio says, hey, I thought this was between us, and then you went out to that leadership thingy, and hey, man, I hope that you stop saying shit like that about me. And that's it. That's pretty much in a ball what he said. Then Greg, in a massive preliminary getting ahead of the story, blasts out his first tweet with his wife.
So again, the investigation opened up on the 11th. Gio's response came out on the 12th, as you said.
Yep.
And then Greg's coming out here 1-3. So clearly,
a month past.
He must have been included. Say, hey, we're running an investigation on this situation.
Yes.
And then come January, the new year, Ernie's like, hey, bro, we're going public with this on the 3rd. So just letting you know. And then so Greg.
No, I guess it was the 3rd. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So whether it was Greg or whether it was USSF and Greg, I don't know. You never know.
Oh, no. This was done together.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
Greg posted it, and literally like 30 minutes later, 15 minutes later, USF posts their shit. Because everyone was sitting there going like, is this Greg post real? Is this a real Greg? Because the account was just created on Twitter that day.
Yes.
And it's not verified. There are no other comments on there. No posts or anything like that. And people are like, is this real? I think this is a spoof. I mean, this is just somebody creating an account. And then all of a sudden, everyone's like, nope, that's legit. But why is he releasing that via Twitter randomly?
I don't know. Maybe that's just a venue they thought it should come out on.
Strange.
What are they going to?
I would imagine you would have sent that to one of your good friends who cover you at ESPN or wherever, Why not have it actually out in the news rather than say, like, post it on Twitter?
Well, you could have said it to Jeff Carlisle because he was already getting all the horse shit from USSF. And listen,
nothing against him either.
Jeff's a good reporter.
Yeah.
But, you got to have some trust in somebody, or it's impossible to be a reporter. And obviously, whoever told him the first part of that,
God,
I
wonder if he's sitting there going like, every time the phone call comes in, he's like, oh, God damn it.
Yeah.
All right, I'll edit it.
You know what? And how's it? So USSF calls him. Let's say Ernie calls him and said, here's the story. And then he's like, oh, fuck. How do I trust that this is the story? Should I call McBride? McBride's just going to give him the same fucking story.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. They already had their script written. So, yeah, Jeff had to go and fucking fix his article fucking 1,000 times. Sucks for him. But it really, unfortunately, the damage had already been done because it made Claudio look like the spearhead of this. Mm-hmm. But now, maybe Danielle is falling on the sword for Claudio. I don't know. But it's just a lot of shit's changed. A lot of the information's changed. So here we go. What's this? Oh, we're going to play this.
Might as well. I got it. Yeah,
Dick's Insider.
Let me know. 720. What the hell? Whatever. Oh, I gotta share the audio. All right. This goes out to Dan for that $4.99 super chat. Appreciate it.
Here we go, Dan.
But again, this was in 1991. Okay, just to make that clear. And Dick's Insider saying Reyna's mom and Greg's wife were teammates at UNC. To allow Greg to coach Gio shows that the parents still trust Greg. To allow, look, Dixon. Again, I understand your point, but I'm not going to defend or accuse the Reynas of anything. There's absolutely no evidence that the Reynas are any way, shape, or form involved in this. So,
that didn't turn
out age well,
right? And thank you for, but I just don't want to even involve their name on defending them because you don't know if they did it or if there's no evidence of that. And Greg doesn't.
This is days ago, so
okay. And don't claim our channel, okay?
But going back,
yes.
Wait, he's reading the chat.
He got you with that name. Wait, who got me with what name? Oh no! Did I fall for that? Oh, I fell. Dixon, come on, man. That's usually something Pete falls for. Okay, back to the very serious topic here.
Oh, man.
And while you guys are here in the chat, now that I got baited, if you kindly could get those likes, thank you very much. I
Way to
can't
turn it.
believe
Way to turn
I fell
it. Yeah.
for it. You see, because this topic, usually I'm joking around more, but this is a very serious topic, something I didn't expect to have to do a stream today. I was distracted by it and I fell for it, and this is a bit embarrassing.
At what point
now,
does he talked about
straight
us?
red card.
Oh, there it is.
Derek and Brett will use that against me. But back to this topic.
And it's so funny. We talked about that with him, like,
man.
what, a week ago when he was on the show? Anyhow,
Yeah.
he's like, oh, I'm not going to get called.
sorry.
All right.
Go back.
All right. So
Sure.
then
Yeah.
we've got
John Hurt says, I hope TAC does not copyright. Oh, he goes, he hopes TAC copyright strikes us.
no, you won't do that, John. I'll give him a call right away if that happens. God damn it, Tech. See, I would call Tech, unlike these groups here who are friends with the.
Yeah.
And I've known Tech for what, a year and a half. Like, I wouldn't do that to him. If I had some shit, I'd just call him up if I had some shit with Tech, or I'll have him on the show and we'd have it out live on fucking our show. But no, sad they didn't do this. So Chris Gary says 165 viewers. Like the video.
Like it.
Yes. Like it, motherfuckers. Like it.
Jeff said, it was one of you, wasn't it? It
No,
wasn't us, I promise.
Jeff, we have never done any of them. All we have done is encourage people to do it.
I've super chatted them jokes within my super chat, but I've never changed my name once.
Yeah, I mean, if I could take credit for Ice Wallow Come, I would take credit for it, but I can't.
That was such a classic.
That was a classic. That's a great resort, by the way. Go visit. It's a ski resort. All right, so
so Greg posted his open letter with USSF same day,
right,
and then all of the pundits, and I know all of you saw this on Twitter, but all the pundits like, oh, there's going to be a neutron bomb or whatever, nuclear strike the next day, and then it comes out that it comes. I was expecting USSF to post something about the investigation, but it was leaks to the media.
Athletic.
USSF leaked it to ESPN.
Athletic.
The Reynas approached the Athletic.
That's true.
That's strange, isn't it?
That is how it happened.
How it worked out like that.
Yeah, and it's funny. I was at work, and I'm busy, but I get it. The dink comes up on my phone. It's from Brett, and it had one word: Reyna.
Yeah.
That's it. You just
there's a response like, "Oh fuck,"
and I thought, "You mean oh shit, really?" I mean, we kind of thought it might be possible, but I was hoping that wasn't going to be the case. And then, of course, we got the Reynas responses, which have been kind of, like I said, because of Jeff's getting a lot of garbage, he's had to fix it. And like I said, we're not blaming Jeff. Jeff's getting crappy information or inaccurate information. He's continually having to update that article. It doesn't look anything like it did the first time I read it. So it seems at this point we have Danielle who is taking the blame for most of this. I don't know if she actually understands that she's taking the blame yet, because I'm not sure that they realize
she might have legitimate. Because the way I described it is that these two families are wounded animals snarling at each other.
Dude, you
never want to piss off a mother bear when it comes to her cub. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
I'm not saying.
Listen,
I'm not saying that happened. It could have all been Claudio. Who knows?
Listen, dude, I'm fine with the whole. Listen, I've heard the mother bear thing. That's what Jimmy said. I get it, but something is making her irrational. Like, if she's going to take all the credit for being the one who screwed up by, because this shit never happened. Yes, Reyna got fucked over at the World Cup. Yes, their son got fucked over again when Greg thought he was being a leader at the Immoral Leadership Conference, and amazingly became one of them, another immoral leader, by outing his own player.
Yeah, it became. You don't have a plethora of examples of Greg lying?
He's lied many times. He's lied about Brooks. He's fucked over Miazga. He's lied about a lot of things. It's okay. But this truly was hurtful at this point. To Gio, it's going to cost him millions of dollars, right? Because basically what it's radaring out to the world is, Rain is a spoiled brat. He's a fucking spoiled, snob raised by other snobs and brats. Look at how entitled the Reynas look.
I feel like in the annals of US of worldwide soccer history, that this predicament is a minor bump compared to everything else that's happened. Look at the many of prima donna players out there. This is a small thing. Personally, I think life will go on without a hitch. He might get ribbed a little bit from his teammates or the opponents. Like, he gets fouled, he starts bitching, like, what, you're gonna have your mommy call the referee or something like that, give you a yellow card? That shit's gonna happen. But I don't think this is going to have a huge effect as far as Gio's career and the money he's going to make.
They're going to be just like, ooh, you need your mooty?
Like, they're hey, Gio, well, we'll offer you this contract, but it's only going to be $4 million. That's $2 million that's not make right now. I'm like, oh, you're going to have your mommy call?
Listen,
that type of shit's going to fucking happen. I guarantee to you.
If Reyna goes and continues to play really well at Dortmund, it's really not going to matter 2 years from now.
Give
Someone's
your mom
going
my number.
No, she's pretty hot. So go ahead.
Real quick. I only brought this up right here, and you're not going to be able to read what this is because I can't zoom in on this. But it's a picture of the only thing the Greg Berhalter account likes. And guess what it is?
Tactical manager?
It's tactical manager, apparently.
Greg used to headbutt the walls? Oh, shit.
So, for all the people who say that the USS higher-ups don't listen to our shows or anything like that.
Okay, listen. I feel like Jimmy was criticizing me the other day because he quoted me on the show and said, "Yeah, I don't know about all this anger that people are reporting about Greg having during his career. All I can say is that he treated me like a dick." Well, dude, if he treated you like a dick's just like one step from being angry. Being an angry dick.
Like,
if he's just a dick in normal time with you when you guys had to play together, what do you think he's like? If you really pissed him off or something, he's an angry dick. And that's a direct quote, Jimmy. If you want to look that up, that is somebody who played Greg many times, has been in the locker rooms with him, and has watched him slam his head up against walls.
It's
okay.
I feel like this might be a mere story of Zimmerman and Scally. The one time that Scally had to play on the right-hand side with Zimmerman bitched him out.
Yeah, I get it.
I'm joking here, of course, but
no, I mean, Jimmy said that Berhalter treated him like a dick so many times in the past, and right up until the show a couple shows ago. I mean, listen, obviously, being a dick is not far off from taking your dicky tendencies and being violent about them, and then don't sue us for calling you having an anger problem. That was from the guy, I can't even remember what his fucking name was, that played with him in MLS.
Was he in Joy? Ian?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Sue him, all right? Because he's the one who said, the guy you're seeing right now, that's not the real Greg Berhalter. Because the real Greg Berhalter was not calm, was not mildly speaking person. He was a loud bitch dick. Just like Jimmy said he's a dick, except Jimmy never saw the anger. Well, kind of being a dick's kind of being angry. I mean, on a minimal level. All right, Jose Lopez, thank you so much, sir, for $1.99. Will Gio and his mom be our Rabiot and his mom? I don't know.
Rabiot's still playing for Juventus and probably be on his way out of Juventus because of his how much he costs. But
right.
So sure, possible. Why not?
I'm with Brett. I think this all gonna nobody's gonna remember this in 2 months.
No, they'll remember it. It's just gonna be a big fucking joke to 90% of the world, maybe more.
Well, speaking of the joke part, there is a lot of humor available here, right?
Thanks for the $1.99, Jose.
Thank you, Jose. And I was gonna make a cartoon about it, and then I thought, oh shit, how do I tell the part of the story?
Too soon.
That's the bar. What's the outside of the bar fight? Like if I portray that in any way that's like makes light of it in a funny way, I'm fucked. So I didn't do it. I thought, no, that's not a good idea, Derek. So, there are things you have to be careful about, obviously. And that part of the story is just not funny. It's just not. It's not funny. Kicking people's not funny. Kick him when they're down, I guess.
I was looking on Twitter for a bunch of gifs of where like little girls kicking people in the shins and then running away type of thing. Because the way that Berhalter described it, that's what I imagined happened.
Yeah.
In this heated argument, he kicked her in the shin and ran away. But clearly, that's not what happened.
Now, listen. No, I'm not going to say that.
Nope.
All right. So
Hey.
in the past,
Yeah.
we've had stories where, like, everybody and their mom knew about the Winalda Hart story before it came out, before it was finally announced. Everybody already knew behind the scenes what it really happened. Everyone did. Anyone who was a reporter back in those days. And yet, no one said anything about it because we just weren't.
Are you
sure.
saying there are other stories out there that people know about but don't talk about?
Yes. I think there's more to this story than, like,
Weird.
even though I knew about Harks Winalda, like, I didn't know specifics. Like, I didn't know that, like, Amy blew Harks behind, a curtain in the team lunchroom. I don't know. I don't know the specifics. So we all knew the stories, like the rumor mill, but we couldn't report on it because we really didn't have the information. Here we're missing something. There's something to this story, to the split up here that we don't know about.
This is the best transition, Derek. I mean, we didn't even coach this, guys. This is just off the cuff. Happened to work out its way.
Are you kidding?
Alfred says, but Samson. I was going to say Iceman, but Samson held his tongue just the same.
Yep, and he took a lot of shit for that for a long time. And one of the reasons was, let me see. Eric talked on a show with Tony Miola about this yesterday. By the way, Tony Miola's been on our show before. Hey, Eric, do you forgive us yet? Can you come back? I know I'm talking about your fucking wife again. I'm fucking us. All right, had a very interesting question.
Drop the F word in front of wife, and when you mention this, I'm just saying.
Had a very interesting question theory about where this really started, about Sebastian Berhalter, and now his time with Austin FC has ended. Wow, if that is one of the points, then Greg is pettier than I even think he is. Like, I consider him a pretty petty guy. Not as petty as Jurgen Klinsmann, but pretty petty. That would be a big thing.
So basically, for those who don't know, and I didn't know, I had to look this shit up. Sebastian was originally with Columbus, loaned out to Austin.
We knew that.
I'm saying I didn't follow Berhalter's son's career by any means.
Oh, why?
He didn't go to Chicago, so fuck off. And it's at Columbus, more of a reason to fuck off. So he went to Austin on a loan. The loan expired, much like Greg's contract, and he wasn't re-signed. So he went back to Columbus, who then transferred him to Vancouver, who apparently he's having a much better career there than he did either of two places.
Why would that be on Reyna? Reyna did Greg's son a favor by loaning him, by bringing him in on a loan.
Yeah, well, he didn't sign him to a professional contract, and so from what I've read from other people who've talked about this, is that he ended up he's on a minimum contract at this point, like a secondary contract / reserve type contract, you know.
He ain't no Greg Berhalter. Let's put it that way.
And I'm not saying that Berhalter is holding this over the Reyna's head.
No, but it's a theory.
But people are talking about it. Eric has talked about it with me.
Of course Eric talked about it. Eric makes up shit like this. Not that we make up shit, but we make it up and it's a joke. Eric means it. Like when we said Miazga kicked, Greg's dog, we were kidding around. Greg's coming out with the shit and he's actually true. He thinks it could be possible. No, you guys
are you talking to me? Are you talking to me?
Who got their facts wrong? If we got facts wrong, you got to let us know what they are.
Let us know.
Seriously. Yeah.
I'm more than happy to say I was wrong. Like I said, I had to look up anything about this topic.
Did he get signed by Austin and then get cut and sent to Vancouver? Is that what happened? That's kind of what He is
talking to me. Berlin, please spell it out, if you wouldn't mind.
What did Brett fuck up?
Where did I fuck up in this scenario? I mean, I know my source in this. I went by Wikipedia on this front. But
Oh God!
it was a loan to Austin that then went back to Columbus, then transferred to Vancouver. As far as I know, and I'm going basic solely off of what Grant's saying here, that Eric talked about it. I'm not saying one way or another, and I'm not saying that that's what the issue is, but I don't know.
No, we don't know.
Let me know.
But that can't possibly be.
I couldn't imagine, but
I'm going to get you back for
for
cutting my son.
They're
signing my son.
But again, it's a death by 1,000 cuts, is what I'm saying. There had to have been more than just Berhalter telling Gio that he was going to play a limited role in the World Cup. There had to be more than just that, because that's what looks like that snowballed the whole effect. Didn't
people report to us on several occasions, and just out loud, other people say that Daniela and Rosalind were actually still hanging out pretty regularly at the World Cup itself?
Probably.
I mean, I've read that somewhere. I can't be making that up in my head. Somebody's told me that. I wish I could remember who. I do too much texting on my phone. Anyhow, I don't know about this being the spark. I think that would be pretty low if it were, and I don't even think that Berhalter, I think, would be that petty. So, I mean, he might be, but I don't know. I'm not for sure. All right, what else we got? Are we done with the timeline? We are.
I mean, the actual timeline itself, yes. Let's see here.
But by the way, Charlie today keeps saying this. Charlie Davies on the show, and he's got to stop. I do.
Before you start, I do want to go over Claudio and Danielle's actual statements to the Athletic.
Yes, we should.
We'll talk about that here in a sec.
But I do want to throw this in here. This is the second show in a row that Charlie's been on where he said there is no rush to find a new manager for the United States men's national team. Now, I don't know what he means by a rush. Like, we don't need one by next fucking week or anything. But the way he's making it sound like it's like we can wait like 2 years. No, we can't, because all the people that are employable are now employable, and they're not going to be for very much longer. A lot of the good coaches out there who had 4-year contracts or their contract ended after the World Cup, they're out there, and we need to talk to them now. That needs to start now. This whole thing that there's no rush. No, I guess there's no rush, but there is some sort of urgency to begin talking. So I just disagree with Charlie on that. So,
no. Before we bounce away from that, though, because I mean, my point is that look at Greg's tenure and how rushed he was with having a 4-year cycle sliced in half.
Yeah,
he went 1.5 years without games because of the beer bug.
Yes.
Do you want to say let's bring in a manager 1.5 years out of the World Cup and let him have at it? No, I want the entire cycle to give him a chance.
It'd be nice, to have more time, because we're not going to get to do a lot. We're not going to do qualifying, so we're going to be doing all these friendlies against shitty teams.
Well, I joked around that every window, every World Cup qualifying window that obviously U.S., Canada, and Mexico won't be a part of, they should hold a mini tournament, and then whoever wins that tournament between the three of them gets to host the next Windows tournament.
Jesus Christ!
It's gonna be like 8 windows of the U.S. versus Mexico versus Canada.
No, I get bored of that real quick.
I wouldn't get bored of that.
Yes. And then Charlie said today, Greg is the best American candidate for manager. What? He's the best American candidate? Like, there's nobody else? He's the best we got?
Wait a second.
No.
I mean, yes, I know he has success during his tenure. But what about his history prior to the U.S. men's national team dictates that he is a better candidate than any other American manager at this point?
Yeah, listen, it's not really so much.
A hell of a lot.
Well, he's won his little cuppies here and his little cuppies there. Greg has. He won the Gold Cup. He won the Nations League Cup.
No. As a manager, yes. I'm talking about prior to the becoming of the U.S. national team. Yeah,
he did
That's
nothing.
My point. That's my point. Exactly. That's my point.
But we're talking about the national team, so I'm not really worried necessarily at this point about his club career.
The point there is that if he's able to do that without a history of winning in general, Then what would happen if you take another American coach who has a history of winning and throw him in that situation?
All I would ask is, did Greg go above and beyond? Did he do something beyond what the expectation was?
We had this argument 2 weeks ago.
He did not go above and beyond.
He was the first.
He got to exactly where we should have been in the World Cup, out of the group stage.
He was the first American coach to win the Nations League, Derek. Come on.
Okay. He got us out of the group stage. He got to the first round. We got knocked out by the Netherlands. What did you see there that made you think that he's the best guy to take us forward?
So
I agree. I think Jim Curtin's a better pick.
Over Berhalter, yes. There are other better picks out there, but if they're going to go MLS yes-men type of picks, Curtin has a history of at least winning and doing well, doing
well with younger players.
So to your point, as far as what we saw from him, getting out of the groups and losing in the round 16 or whatever, was there anything there? It was at least promising in the fact that he was able to adjust how he manages the match. Slightly. So we went through the entire cycle of him trying to wedge a square peg into a round hole. And then in the World Cup, he finally found that round peg.
He woke up.
He's like, wait a second. If I only did this, and this differently, it'll work. Oh, my God.
I think he suddenly got very pragmatic. We saw it from Klinsmann. Yeah. He did the exact same thing.
Yep. 100%.
You get to the World Cup and you go, okay.
Not the exact same thing, because leading into the World Cup, you had no idea what Klinsmann was going to do, because he was like, well, here's an idea. I'm going to take this piece of shit and throw it against the wall and see if it sticks. No, it didn't stick. Oh, how about this piece of shit? No, that one stuck. Let's think about this. And then during World Cup, it's completely different.
Yes. He made changes in the World Cup, right before the World Cup, actually, and stuck with those plans. Not the other plans he had been throwing against the wall prior. So,
way to stick with it. Appreciate it.
Right. So what the fuck were we talking about?
Who knows? Greg in the World Cup, if he did anything who's above and beyond what we expect of American coach.
No, the Charlie said he's the best option for American.
That's what I'm saying, yes.
And Charlie just couldn't be more wrong. All right, there are other options out there that would be better and have done better things or look like more promising options.
Usually the more
Matarazzo, Jesse Marsh.
No, he's with Norwich now. Shit.
Wagner. We'll see how he bounces back. Last time Wagner was in the championship, he did very well. So we'll see what he does with Norwich here.
He couldn't be more wrong argument is usually like, no, you normally could be more wrong. But in this situation, he's like, no, he gave an absolute. Yeah, he couldn't be more wrong.
No, he's just wrong.
He couldn't be more wrong.
He is wrong. He's just dead wrong.
Wrong.
No, wrong. Absolutely wrong.
Wrong.
So I had to get that in before you went to the next part that you were discussing we were going to cover here, which are the quotes.
Yep, I'm just getting rid of all the other stuff we have here real quick.
All right.
I do want to bring up. We've been talking about Nico Cantor. Cantor. Regardless, I got a tweet here for us.
Nico Cantor.
Yeah.
Berhalter broke sporting code when he spoke at the summit about the Gio situation. Yes, he did. The Reynas. Who said that today? Somebody said that specifically that he broke code. Oh, it was Charlie.
Oh, actually.
There you go.
So he's not always.
He's wrong. Not all wrong. I just disagree with him on that one point.
Yeah.
And Jimmy will not hold that against me. Trust me, he won't. The Reynas broke friendship code by resurfacing an intimate detail of decades-long marriage. That's for sure. Mm-hmm. Neither is okay. One is more painful than the other. Regardless, it's self-sabotage. Yeah.
Yes.
Too much arrogance can lead to self-sabotage.
This is the point. So people on Twitter, especially, because this is where I frequent. I don't do the other social medias, so I don't know what other people are saying per se. But people tend to be picking a side. Are you Team Berhalter or are you Team Reyna?
No side.
The point is there is no side. Everybody's wrong here. The only people that are right are you and me, Derek.
There is no side to pick here, folks.
Yeah, this is two feuding families that are just that are just airing their dirty laundry out for the rest of us to see. It is stupid and dumb and petty.
You don't go to a fucking shit throwing contest and decide which shit throwing.
He's throwing more shit than he is. Oh no!
Exactly. This is just people throwing shit all over the place. You don't walk into a room of people throwing shit at each other and go, "Oh, one's better than the other." No, they're both throwing shit.
Yeah.
And okay, one guy hit one guy in the eye with a turd, and the other guy hit the other guy in his ball sack with a turd. It's all bad. It's just people throwing shit. And when you're in a room like that, the first thing you want to do is step back, close the door, and get the fuck out of there. Yes.
So Jesse got the right here.
That's
real
true.
The only innocent bystander of all of this shit is Greg's wife.
And
she's the only one who didn't ask for any of this shit to happen, and it's happened.
Danielle said in her remarks that she didn't know that this was going to trigger an HR incident. Now, she used an investigation.
Yeah, we'll cover that here in a second.
That's really what this is.
This
is really what this is, right?
Yeah.
So she's saying, listen, I called Ernie because he's my friend. Well, that's a problem in the first place because there are no walls up here. Like, should the Reynas have like just full access to the fucking, leadership of U.S. soccer? I don't know. Seems crazy to me.
Actually, let's start with Danielle. So here, these are all the quotes from The Athletic.
To set the record straight, I did call Ernie on December 11th, just after the news broke that Greg had made negative statements about my son at a leadership conference. The immoral leadership conference, Danielle.
Yeah.
Danielle,
she got that one thing wrong.
Right. I've known Ernie for years and consider him to be a close friend. Okay, well.
real quick. Jeff, I 100% agree. Players won't care for long as Gio plays well. As long as he puts 100% in there, yes.
Yeah, Brett,
if he continues to drag his feet, I agree.
Brett's right about Dortmund, and he's right about the same thing. I mean, most of those guys he's known for years anyhow.
Yeah. The Dortmund organization came out and flat out denied what Berhalter was saying about him. It's like, no, he's been a constant professional here.
Yeah, well, he said that.
That'd be self-defending. They'd be like we aim to sell this kid later on.
Yeah,
that's possible.
Yeah, we don't want his fee to go from 8 million down to 60. So
he is kind of a little shit, actually.
Boo, down to 40 million.
Ah, damn.
Yeah, exactly. I have known Ernie for years and consider him to be a close friend. Whenever something starts like that, I'm like, you're being naive. I wanted to let him know that I was absolutely outraged, and I bet you that's how she said it too. Ernie, I am absolutely fucking outraged. And devastated. She didn't say that. I'm sure she didn't say, I am outraged and devastated. No, she just said, I'm fucking outraged that Gio has been put in such a terrible position and that I felt very personally betrayed by the actions of someone my family had considered a friend for decades. I'm sure that's not how that conversation went, but that's how, it did go like that, but the way
this motherfucker over here.
Yeah, this was a lot of screaming and yelling. I can
100%, yeah.
Yeah, that motherfucker.
Ernie's sitting there going, I should have fucking recorded this. What the fuck's wrong with me?
God, why did I give him my phone number? Oh shit, they've had it for 20 years. God damn it.
Ernie actually gave him a Lawless's number instead. Like he gave me a false number.
That would be funny. Yeah.
Hey, Lexi's here. Whoa, Danielle, calm down.
Yeah, you're talking to the wrong person. All right, so what do we got here? This go on or?
Yeah.
As part of that conversation, I told Ernie that I thought it was especially unfair that Gio, who had apologized for acting immaturely about his playing time, was still being dragged through the mud when Greg had asked for and received forgiveness for doing something so much worse at the same age. Without going into detail, the statements from yesterday significantly minimized the abuse on the night in question. Jesus Christ. Rosalind Berhalter was my roommate, teammate, and best friend. I supported her through the trauma that followed. It took a long time for me to forgive and accept Greg afterward, but I worked hard to give him grace. No, you didn't. Because this
25 years of keeping your silence.
I'm sorry. I wouldn't even have brought this up with Ernie. I wouldn't have brought this up.
Oh, no, 100%. I agree. Danielle's in the wrong as far as bringing this up. 100% agree. This was a stupid thing to bring up.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. Listen, what he did was horrible. I'm not saying that.
100% agree too.
It's not like he, I don't know, did something even worse, like, I don't know, rape somebody, or, I mean, you know how many college boys are accused of rape in college? A lot. I mean, Greg could have done even worse. He could have raped people and beat them up.
Maybe kicking her legs was something else. Maybe it was just something or a placeholder, if you will.
I mean, listen, if Danielle had reported this,
100%, I'm not saying that, guys.
Right. If Danielle would have reported this the night of that it happened, when Rosalind came home or called the police that night, or even did it a year later or whatever, I don't know. That makes more sense. But it's been a long time since this happened. And then she says, I gave him grace. No, I'm not sure you did. They ultimately made both of them and their kids a huge part of my family's life. Oh my God. They're like really close.
Real quick before we continue. Derek, you've known many a woman in your life, correct?
Yeah.
So you know that there are some out there that will happily let bygones be bygones. And then there are some that sit there and go like, okay, I forgive you. And when the moment arises, it can come out at any point.
Remember that time 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Remember that time?
You know, exactly. So again, I understand that she's livid, she's pissed off and everything like that, but bringing this up was wrong.
Yeah. This was anger getting the best of her. I know a lot of people are saying the mama bear thing and all that. I don't care if she's a mama bear or papa bear, because Papa wasn't doing the right thing either, so he wasn't thinking clearly. So this is just two parents not thinking clearly.
Yeah. And I will say that the whole mama bear concept isn't necessarily to rationalize it. In fact, it's to point out that there's no rational take on it. Usually when a mama bear gets pissed off that the cub's getting fucked with, it's usually a very irrational take. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just don't want to put this down to mama bear, because I really think Claudio is in many ways shielding himself because he's the one bringing the big bucks right now at Austin. I think that he was just as irrational. He maybe,
so two mama bears in that family.
No, I don't like the term mama bear. All right. You said it and Jimmy said it, and both of you can stop saying it.
Sorry. It's
all right.
It's pretty good.
All right, Al. $5. Thanks so much, man. We appreciate your support. In your opinions, are there consistent behavioral traits between a guy who hits girls and a guy who bullies kids? I am not a behavioral expert.
Yeah.
But I mean, I slept at a fucking Holiday Inn last night.
You stole my go-to line at Holiday Inn Express, there. Come on.
Oh, all right, whatever.
I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express. Yeah. No. You'd have to imagine there has to be some correlation between the two the trade itself. Basically, just and to steal Jimmy quote there, a guy who treats you like a dick to an extent.
Okay,
now,
well,
sometimes in this situation, 31 years ago, it was overly physical, and here it's kind of emotional. Yes.
Okay, Al, you're a man of literature. We've had discussions about Bukowski and other things on Twitter. Let me just say this. Back in the 1880s and through the Industrial Revolution, when you had lots of people working very dirty, hard jobs at sometimes 60 hours, 80 hours a week, not getting paid but pennies for it, sometimes even kids. But let's just talk about the average American worker who was absolutely stressed out, came home, hated their lives, drank a lot, beat their wives because
they didn't dry the can opener up properly.
Because they were getting bullied. They were getting bullied.
Yeah.
All right. In the world that as they saw it. And that made them vulnerable. And they took that out on people who they loved or who were close to them. And it was a very common thing. That's why the temperance movement started. Right. So you had a lot of people who were like, hey, we need to ban alcohol because all these workers are coming home just completely demoralized and drinking and beating their wives or whatever. Listen, so there's that too. So there are people who get bullied at work and then they take it out on their family when they get home. So there we go. There's lots of literature on that too. If you're interested on it.
Thank you, Wham. I appreciate the fact that you got my humor. It was, in fact, a Bill Burr reference.
I missed it.
He comes home. The guy works at the factory, has a bad day, comes home, tuna casserole, or the other one was the you shouldn't bash your wife's head into the cabinet drawers because she didn't dry off the can opener properly. It's going to fucking rust, you know. Bill Burr, guys, go out and watch him. He is hysterical.
No, he's a very funny guy. All right, where are we on this thing? Drag him through the mud. Okay. Without going to detail. Okay.
Sorry, no. I assumed you covered that all.
I think we did. Danielle Reynas' statement continues. At the time I called Ernie, many people were trashing Gio on social media due to Greg's comments, and I didn't know when or if this would stop. You might want to have checked it out for a second.
Well, this is the boomerism right here, because the problem with social media, what people don't realize with social media is that every controversy will be trumped in about 2 weeks. Some other controversy will come
less
up,
than that,
and it's gonna be over. So it's like, oh, people are making fun of it or calling them out on social media. I'm like, yeah, give it a couple weeks and it'll die out. You know?
Yeah, for sure. I just wanted Ernie to help make sure that there would be no further unwarranted attacks on my son. Okay, that's all fine. I guess if you make that call and that's where it stops. I thought our conversation would remain in confidence, and it didn't occur to me at the time that anything I said could lead to, God, I hate this word, an investigation. It's not really an investigation. More like an inquiry.
What do you do? Yeah.
I'm not criticizing Ernie here, but yeah, Ernie went to HR. At some point, Ernie's like, listen, this shit's getting heavy. I got fucking Greg, who I talk to every day. Then I got the fucking Reynas talking to me every day. I'm sick of this shit. I'm just going to take it all to HR and let them work this shit out. And I'm getting out of it. I don't want to deal with it anymore. Please, Derek and Brett, don't use bad words. I'm a simple man listening to you.
Oh, that's good times.
Wow, that's hilarious.
Now here's my question. Now, having read that and stuff like that, do you think that it's possible that this is in reference to Greg thinking that the seminar wasn't going to get out? Do you think this is sort of like, I didn't know it was going to be released?
I don't know.
Or do you think she may have been ignorant? Not I say ignorant, because she may not have known, but maybe she was ignorant to the fact that the whole NWSL debacle that was going on. And a lot of people don't know about this. And USSF saying, well, we got to be more transparent about everything. And you have this issue come up, and they're like, well, we got to be transparent about it.
Yeah, I mean, Danielle's telling the half truth here. Did she call Ernie because Ernie's her friend? Yes. Did she call Ernie because Ernie has influence in USSF and could get fucking Greg fired?
Sure.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, she goes on, and maybe it's in the fourth segment here, but she goes on to talk about how she didn't try to get Greg fired.
Well, she does say that, but
maybe her thought process is this is a circle of friends, and I'm expressing why I think that Greg should not be acting this way, and thinking that it's not going to go beyond that. But the problem is, we're in a situation where those things still have to get exposed.
So she's on the phone with Ernie, and she's like, "Listen. This motherfucker better stop talking about my son. And by the way, when Greg was the same age as my son, he was even more immature, and he beat a bitch up. All right? How you like that, motherfucking Ernie?"
I don't know if the term was bitch per se, but
well, I don't know how she put it. I mean, I don't know how she put it. I'm just saying she said that generally. She said,
Greg, paraphrase.
When Greg was my son's age, he was out there fucking beating up women. And now you're
pop pieing that shit, man. Take some spinach and
and Ernie's like, well, shit, Jay didn't tell me that when we hired him.
Because
Greg said he told his whole family.
Did say it, and they didn't think about it. They really didn't care at the time because it's a 31-year-old scenario.
No,
and now it's coming back up at the wrong time. I mean, wrong, but the right time, I guess you could say. But
I've been hired for really big positions before. I'm not trying to brag. I'm just saying one of the questions they ask you when you're taking over a company or you're going to be like the boss, they're like, listen, you're going to be the face of the company. Is there anything you've ever done in your life that we need to know about that is not in any records anywhere because we've done your criminal background, but they could come back and haunt you and haunt us.
I've got a gingerbread house that I coerced kids to come to, and I baked them in my oven. Right? Is that what you said, Derek? That's what you said, Derek. That's what you said, Derek, right?
What is wrong with you?
I say
Brett,
a lot.
you are sick. All right, so you have to answer that question truthfully. And if Jay already knew the story, then Jay should have let them know. Because Greg said he told his whole family and family, friends, and any person on the street he could run into. He told them about, yeah, I kicked my girlfriend. All right, so I don't know, man. I don't know.
There we go.
Yes. I don't know.
So to your point, Derek, when I was unemployed after working at the Indiana State Fairgrounds for like 11 years. I became unemployed because they were renovating everything. No job for me.
Yeah.
And between me getting an actual real job, a real big boy job, I ended up having to work in a call center at Navient. And for all you silly fucks who have student loans still, may endure what Navient brings.
Sorry.
As well as other people, yeah. But I had to work there, and they asked all the questions, and they're like, "Oh, do you have any felonies or blah blah?" I'm like, no, I don't have any of that. And then all of a sudden, after about a month of working there, I like, "Hey, you have a meeting you gotta go take with an FBI agent." I go,
Jesus.
Okay, I have no idea. Do I? Hey, Wes, I'm sorry, buddy. Yeah. It's a thing there, but so I go down and sit down with them, and they're like, "Yeah, you said that you didn't have anything on your record, but I have this incident at IU that you blah blah," and they went through this whole thing. Basically, what happened is that when I was at IU my sophomore year, so before I was 21, I got a minor possession of alcohol during Little 500.
Common.
And, yeah, very common. What ends up happening is you get your summons to court. You go there and they say, "Hey, did you do this?" If you admit that you did this, then you
clean up shit.
You go clean up shit. You have to go talk to this counselor, and your record's expunged.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I did that. Yeah, I had out. The sad thing was, I didn't have a single sip of fucking alcohol. I had it in my hand. I just got off work. I came back and excise fucking rolled up. I was like, God damn it.
Yeah. Well, in this case, Greg beat up his girlfriend.
a little bit.
So it's a little bit different.
So the FBI agent was like, "Hey, what happened here?" I'm like, I was a sophomore in college. I had some alcohol during Little 500. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I understand where you're coming from there because I used to be at IU too." And I'm like, yeah, probably pretty sure you did the exact same fucking shit.
Cronyism.
Yeah. So we shot the shit for 30 minutes, and I was happy to be off the fucking phones. But
God, I can't believe you work for Navient.
Yeah.
You never told me that.
I had to pay the bills, Derek. I had a family.
In our pre-show interview where I ask you if you've done anything horrible in your life, you didn't mention Navient. It's kind of like what Ernie had to do here.
I was the good
which
guy.
is, yeah, sure.
Ernie was a good guy too then, huh?
I don't know. I think Ernie's a very arrogant person, but at this point, he had to cover his ass because this is getting disastrous.
And I know nobody wants to hear this because everybody wants to paint USSF as the bad guy and everything, because there is a lot wrong with USSF in general. But I feel kind of bad for them in this situation because they're caught between a rock and a hard place, and they have to go this route. So what did they do? They said, "We're bringing in a third party to do the investigation. Our hands are washed in this situation. We're moving on."
I don't know if I feel sorry for him.
I feel kind of bad for him.
I don't feel sorry for Ernie because he's been an arrogant prick for how long now? At least 3 years.
And we need to cancel Brett now. No.
Hey, I worked for one evil company too, but only for 1 year, and I quit as soon as I knew they were evil. All right, I'm sorry.
I was there for about a year and a half, but yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry that this information became public, Danielle says, and I regret that I played a role in something that could reopen wounds from the past. She really regrets that. Why did she fucking make it even worse by saying, yeah, they minimized that incident. That shit's more brutal than they're letting on.
It is possible that she didn't understand that this was going to go to an investigation and this was going to be held.
No, I get that part.
So I'm just saying. That's maybe what she may be thinking. Who knows?
No, I get that. But she's talking to, this is the same interview. Okay. And earlier in it, she said, yeah, that shit that they said about him kicking her. No, that shit was way worse than that. All right. And so she's compounding it, yet she's still sorry that this information became public. And I regret I played a role in something that could reopen the wounds. She just reopened the wounds bigger by saying, yeah, he didn't just kick her, bitch. He fucking like lit her up. Like,
He double tapped it.
Yeah. I mean, that shit, what they describe, yeah. A man doesn't walk up to a woman, have an argument, and
it's
kick
coming
her
up,
in the
Adam.
legs.
Don't worry, buddy. We got it covered.
Adam Wiggins, okay. What else? What else? We want to cover any other?
No. Let's finish this quote, and then we'll do Claudio.
I just did.
And then you cover all that shit?
Yeah, I just read the bottom.
Well played, Derek. I didn't realize you got all the way down to the bottom that quickly.
Yep.
So here's Claudio's statement.
I support my wife, Daniela, and her statement. I, too, was upset by Greg's comments about Gio after the U.S.
Playing that southern accent with Austin, huh?
I don't know. Is he from North Carolina? No, I don't think so. He's from New Jersey. I'm sorry. He's from New Jersey. I really don't want to do. I don't want to do a Jersey accent. I support my wife, Danielle, and a statement. Yeah. I too was upset by Greg's comments after Gio, after the U.S. was out of the World Cup. And I also appealed to Ernie Stewart on December 11th, asking him to prevent any additional comments. While in Qatar, I shared my frustrations with my son's World Cup experience with a number of my close friends, Ernie and Brian McBride among them. However, at no time did I ever flatten anybody, nor would I ever do so. There we go.
Yeah.
A little New Jersey accent for you.
About your original accent, Al asked if that's Yosemite Sam mixed with the Croc Hunter.
It is. That's exactly what it is.
And then Chris Gary goes, that's a great Jersey accent.
I'm sorry. That is not what Claudio.
Mike Tyson? No, that was not nearly lispy as enough.
No. I support my. This is Mike Tyson. I'm gonna write it. I'm gonna read it as Mike Tyson. I support my. Hold on. I support my wife Daniela and her statement.
You're not lisping nearly enough.
I too was upset by Greg's comments about Gio after the U.S. was. There we go. There we go. All right.
You know, Tyson's gonna leave you a note on your door now, Derek. Come on,
dude.
Like,
I do not want
to. Motherfucker.
I love Mike Tyson. I hope he doesn't come to my door to beat me up.
If he hits you, you got to get it on camera because at least let's monetize the shit out of that.
All right. I really don't do impressions for a living. All right. S27 $199 Amazon Prime missed a real opportunity.
The whole Berhalter Reyna documentary maybe. What the fuck was I doing there? Documentary? Is that it? I don't know.
Well, the whole point though of this quote is that he supports his wife, right? And her statement. He's upset. He shared his frustrations with Ernie and McBride. Here's the point. He should never have been calling Ernie and McBride during the World Cup. Yeah. I don't care if you're their friends or not. At some point, you're like, okay, Ernie and Brian are doing a job. I'm going to call Eric. And that's as far as that should have gone. You shouldn't even call Eric because Eric's going to splattergun that shit all over the news, especially if you don't tell him not to. So, and that's what happened. And then Eric got a call from Reyna and said, please walk that back. And then he's like, okay, I'll walk it back.
Derek, the only reason why you and I recognize that is because we had to do that too.
What?
Walk it back.
When?
The whole question thing. Not walk it back, because we just sort of nixed the interview.
You know, Pete brought that up in his last show, that he's like, if you have any questions about how U.S. soccer operate, ask Derek Ritchie. He said Derek Ritchie again. Ritchie. About his experience with Sasha Kleshin. Yeah. Okay. I walked it back because I liked Sasha and I didn't want him to get hurt because of something his dad said. So I did. We took it down.
Well, I mean, that could be extrapolated to the current situation, though.
Yeah, it could be, but you know, that was big soccer, and this shit it's different from 10 years ago when I was doing big soccer, right? And writing for big soccer. Like that shit was up for I don't know, an hour and a half and had like 1,800 views already, and that's when the dad called and said, hey Derek, can you take this down, please? No, my son will never play for the US again if you don't take this down. Anyway,
Jessica says, can someone link the new 29 new video? So 29 was on the Spaces with Jay Hernandez the other day. And I missed it, and apparently he dropped some more bombshells.
Is he related? He's got to be related to Weston. Does Weston have brothers?
Maybe, who knows?
No, he must. They have the exact.
I think they're friends.
Listen, they have the exact. Like, if you talk to me and then you call my brother.
Do you think it's Weston?
Hold on. If you talk to me and then called my brother, Brett.
Yeah.
My brother, you would go, holy fuck, those guys sound a lot alike. The way we talk, or the way we express ourselves. All right. That's very similar. This guy sounds a lot like he's got to be. He doesn't sound like Weston. Like the tone is different.
Thank you. S27 has it here.
They aren't related. God,
He's Hispanic.
They must have grown up in the same fucking
100%.
neighborhood.
They're best friends.
They've got to have grown up in the same neighborhood because they have 100%. The same
mannerisms,
expressions, mannerisms, the vocal mannerisms.
It's
crazy.
He was on the show again, and he so S29 does have his not S29. Sorry, 29 has his own Instagram. He absolutely does. He's his own character. He's best friends with Weston. I mean, I'm taking him for his word in this situation.
Who's number 29 on FC Dallas right now?
Fuck if I know. I couldn't tell you if there's a 29 in Chicago. I don't know that.
I'm just saying.
I don't follow that fucking close.
It sounds like a kid he played with in youth.
Yeah, but it doesn't necessarily mean he's a professional at that point. Regardless, he was on the show and he dropped some more bombs. And I didn't get to watch it, but he did talk about how he's like he mentioned that Reyna stated that if Berhalter is coach again, that he'll never play for the United States again until Berhalter's gone. Basically, is what he said. Paraphrasing, of course.
I've heard that from people who are agents for the following people. Well, John Brooks is obvious. He's never played as long as Berhalter's manager.
Yeah. That's not Brooks' choice, though.
That's correct. That's correct.
From what 29 was saying, this is
all right. Let me list the other ones. Eric Palmer Brown. Who's our guy at Birmingham? Fuck, I just forgot his name.
Birmingham? Trusty?
Yep. Mackenzie's agent, spreading that shit too. Who else? There was like six others.
Turner is Gio's agent, and Stefan wasn't Stefan too.
Turner, yep, his agent said he's got to go.
Basically, what 29 has said over the course of the last two spaces that he was a part of is that there's a rift when it comes to Berhalter. There's the MLS players, and then there's the European players. And the European players don't really like Berhalter, and they don't really respect him. And the MLS players are like, I like Berhalter.
There's only one MLS player that played, Zimmerman. Regularly.
But you're still brought into the World Cup roster.
That can't be a conflict anymore. There's not enough MLS players for there to be a conflict.
No. I'm just saying the MLS players that he brings up are pro Berhalter. The European players are, for the most part, anti Berhalter.
From what I hear, yes, there's about 8 to 9 players who play in Europe who've expressed through their agents who've expressed to us behind the scenes. And of course, they're never named. We talked about the agent, the main agent, who has been expressing this behind the scenes to reporters, who the reporters won't name out of whatever confidence, but we told you who they were. And there are about 8 to 9 players who said, no, Greg cannot take this forward from here. We don't think that's a good idea. The agents spoke for the players. All right.
But it's funny we're talking about the European players, because I have a 49-second clip here of Pepe talking about his interaction with Berhalter. And
okay, bye.
I want you to listen to this, Derek, and I want your take as far as what he is saying. I want you to paraphrase. I want you to give a synopsis for somebody who hasn't listened to this when it happens. Okay.
Okay.
Because I got into a little bit of a debate. People are seeing it different ways, but let's listen to it. I want to hear what you have to say. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember exactly the moment. You know, I just had I hopped on a phone call with the national team coach, and he said that I wasn't on the roster. So then I just hung up the phone on him. Like,
Did ask why?
no, not really. To be honest, it was just something that I was in shock. I was in shock because it took me like 5 minutes to be able to like just get it in my mind. At first I thought it was like I just couldn't believe it. And then I was just talking to the coach, and then when we hung up the phone, then I just called my agent immediately, and then I called my dad, and then they thought I was playing with them. So yeah, it was something that I was shocked, to be honest. And like I said, I use every situation, and every situation like this is always going to make me hungry, and is always going to motivate me to keep working and working hard.
Okay, give me a synopsis of what he just said.
What I heard was a contradiction. He said first, he said, you're not going to make the team, and I fucking hung up on him. Then he said, we hung up, which means you hung up together. So I'm not sure what the fuck he's saying there. Because he says first, I hung up. He told me I didn't make the team. Okay. I hung up on his ass. But no, then later he says, when we hung up. No, you hung up on him.
This is interesting because you're kind of splitting the scene between the two sides here in this argument. What do you think happened with that 5 minutes? Because he talks about 5 minutes of processing. Do you think he was on the phone or wasn't on the phone?
At this point, it's impossible to say because he contradicts his own statement twice.
Here's the way that I hear this and I interpret this. He talks to Berhalter. Berhalter says, hey, yo, Peps, you're not going to be on the roster. Pepe hangs up. He sits there in disbelief for 5 minutes, then calls his agent.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable. It sounds
Other
reasonable.
People are saying that the 5 minutes is him being on the phone with Berhalter.
And it's like
then mutual hangups.
It's like the Peanuts thing. Like after he says he's not going to make the team, you just hang on the phone and it's like hearing
the two sides.
He didn't listen to anything after that.
Hearing the two sides, I want you to listen to it again and then come up with A or B in this situation.
Okay, I'm going to listen to this.
Yeah, I remember exactly the moment. I hopped on a phone call with the national team coach, and he said that I wasn't on the roster. So then I just hung up the phone on him.
Like, did ask why?
Okay.
Not really, to be honest. It was.
I just hung up the phone on. So I just hung up the phone on him.
Yeah, that's
a very definitive statement.
That's the way I stand on it.
And then he gets to the 5 minutes.
It's just something that I was in shock. I was in shock because
now he's in shock.
Like 5 minutes to be able to like just get it in my mind. At first I thought it was like I just couldn't believe it. And then I was just talking to the coach, and then when we hung up the phone, then I just called my agent immediately, and then I called my dad, and then they thought I was playing with them. So yeah, it was something that I was shocked, to be honest. And like
almost said
situation, and every situation like this is always going to make me hungry, and is always going to motivate me to keep working.
That part. But the part where, he almost says, I almost thought it was a joke. He doesn't say it. I almost thought, and then he stops. He's almost like he's going to say, I almost thought it was a joke. But then he calls his peeps, and they don't believe him. They think he's full of shit. He's just kidding around with them. No, he's like, no, I ain't seriously. I'm not making this team. So I think he hung up on him.
Okay. So looking at the chat here, you have Joey who says he was sitting alone for 5 minutes.
Yep. And
that's the way that I word it. It's like he's like, hey, you're not going to be on the roster. Click. And you're like, what? What? I'm not going to be on the roster. And then he calls his agent, etc. That's the way I take it. Yes, he did hang up on Gigi, then spend 5 minutes in shock. It's just. Yeah,
that's what I'd say. I'd agree with that.
So my point here is that there's some people there. You can listen to that, and you can kind of interpret it one way or another if you want to. I looked at that and I said, "Here's what I think it is." And they're like, "Well, people are manipulating it." I'm like, "Well, I'm not manipulating. I'm going based off."
I'm listening to fucking words, asshole.
Now, is there more to this? Maybe before this, because this is a 49-second clip. Who knows what? I could say who knows. You can go on and find this entire 1 hour video. They link it above. But just before the video starts and just after, was there something he said like, Berhalter and I sat down, we talked for like 5-10 minutes, and blah blah blah. was there something there? But just listen to the 49-second clip here. It does sound like he hears what Berhalter has to say.
No, he
Hangs
says
up the phone. He sits in disbelief, then talks to his agent. And
that's not the important part. The important part is right at the beginning. He told me he didn't make the team, so I hung up on him.
Yeah.
That's what he says. Literally.
Word for word.
Literally says, so, comma, I hung up on him. You don't say that unless that's literally what happened. So I hung up on him.
Yeah.
So, like, okay, you can take the so out. So he told me to make the team. I hung up on him. You can leave the so in. So I hung up on him. He still hung up on him.
Yeah.
Period. Any way you do it.
This leads to a conversation. Obviously, we were having just before this, as far as like a European versus MLS take on Greg. But it's not just the ones that are broadcast. You obviously we heard the Stefan debate. I mean, we have a contact that told us about what happened behind the scenes with Stefan.
Yep.
We heard publicly what happened to Gio. We could piece together what happened to Brooks until it all came out, spilled out eventually. So I mean, it's just you're piecing these things together. What are all these things have in common? You see Scally kind of getting sidelined for subpar options available, and it's not saying that he's picking MLS over European, but I'm just saying there are a lot of European players that are like Berhalter,
No, I think it all comes down to one thing. And I think that Jimmy Conrad summed it up best. Berhalter's a dick.
Yeah.
Seriously. He's just kind of a dick. And he, from lying about Brooks to telling Gio he's not going to play any major role in the tournament before the tournament even starts, to... I mean, the guy just says dumb things, to talking to a immorality leadership conference and then amazingly being immoral. That guy says stupid things and does dumb things. Is he dumb? I think he's kind of full of himself. He always has been. Listen to Jimmy. Just listen to some of his past shows.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking Berhalter has always been full of his fucking self. As a player, he was a dick to be playing next to.
Well, as Enjoy pointed out, that what we're seeing at these pressers
is not the real Berhalter he knew. Yeah, because that guy was a dick.
There's enough people talking about it. Yeah,
so. And apparently was not a big enough dick to not be friends with the Reynas, but then their character is highly in question at this point, which is sad to say.
Again, no winners in this situation.
What happened?
So my thing was, it's been a crazy 48 hours, but Straight Red Card is here to break down the Giogate once again. There are no winners, except for me. I'm the best. Join us, etc., etc. So then Jose says the real winner is 29. I said I'll allow it this one time as a courtesy to you for all your support. Do it again, and I'll contemplate sending you home unless you get up in front of everyone and apologize. But then I'll still tell a story, but won't mention your name, so no worries. BMR wants to know what happened with Stefan.
Oh, summary. Summary time for the Stefan thing. Basically, Greg just said, listen, are you willing to be the number 2? Because I'm going to go with Turner. Stefan's like, why are you going fucking Turner? Why can't I have a chance? I think I've earned it. They had an argument. Greg said, well, if you're not going to be team player, then you're not coming. End of story.
And he didn't come.
And Stefan was pretty upset about being told he's going to be not
weird that from two sources, basically.
Yeah.
Kind of different go-rounds, but it's the same story in the end.
Yeah. And I believe what I heard was that the first call was like, okay, so you're not really comfortable being a number 2 because that's what you are. And
you are total shit right now, man.
Right. He said, okay, I'll get back to you. We'll talk later. And then he called him back and told him, listen, we don't need this kind of controversy at the World Cup between you and Turner, so you're out. So there were there was actually 3 different versions, but they all were generally kind of the same.
Thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Different verbiage, but same thing.
Yeah. Man, wait till I tell my dad who, of course, is your Eskimo brothers. He has dirt on you, sir. Man, wait till I
He's
come
playing the
again.
role of Reyna.
Oh, okay. I don't know if I get the joke on the Eskimo brothers thing, so hopefully I didn't say anything offensive, or read anything offensive. Mike Uchizeri.
Mike Uchizeri.
Mike Uchizeri.
Yeah. Mike Uchi.
Mike Uchizeri.
Yeah.
Good try, Adam Wiggins. I'll give you credit for that
That's a good one. I like it.
Yeah.
It's new.
I mean, it's long, and I've never seen anybody named Uchis, but that's okay.
You never know.
You never know. Lots to unpack from the last 48 hours. First off, it's easy to see where Reyna got the entitled spoiled brat attitude from. The Reynas, you don't need an apostrophe there, should be embarrassed by their behavior during the tournament. Sorry,
Thank you, English major.
I know I was an English teacher. I'm sorry.
Adam, don't take any heat by this.
Sorry, Adam.
Right That's passive aggressive, guys.
I know. I'm just
no passive voice in our comment section.
Speaking of dicks, that was a dick move. All right, then we have Peppy hanging
Grammar
up
Nazi.
Grammar, yeah. Then we have Peppy hanging up on Greg. It's clear we need someone that can change the culture and stand firm. And not allow these kids with entitled spoiled brat attitudes to spoil the whole pot. Talent means nothing if your attitude is detrimental to the group. Sorry.
So my take is the players, the Reyna, the Peppy, all these players having verbal beefs here in the last month. Stefan, but you know what? I mean, I don't know about Stefan. Let's leave Stefan out of it. So I'm going to bring Peppy and just Reyna because you don't see this issue at the club level. You don't see the club coaches saying the same thing.
No.
The correlation here is it's a Berhalter situation. And I'm not saying that Berhalter is at fault by any means, but maybe, just maybe, he's handling things incorrectly at times.
You want to find a spoiled brat? Go to Klagenfurt. There's a kid that plays. There's a guy who plays there. Yeah. He's a former U.S. men's national team player. All right. Super Big Balls says, Ernie Stewart said that Alpha Q and the bum will include the
Alpha Q in the bum.
Alpha Q and the bum. We'll conclude the investigation soon, presumably before the March camp.
Thank goodness, Alpha.
So we may have answers to the managerial situation then. I can see Greg coming back. USSF is going to kick him to the curb. See what I did there?
So we have a lot of people kind of split in this argument. There are people, the disenfranchised of the kick Berhalters that are going, USSF is going to bring Berhalter back. They're going to do it just because that's
it's possible.
It's possible, And I'm sitting there going like, they're not going to bring him back because my take is they're gonna split ties between Reyna or Claudio and then Greg, and they're going to bring in somebody else, and Gio is still going to be there to play a role. Depending on what role he plays is up to him at that point. But I don't think Berhalter is going to be brought back.
No, and the biggest problem with bringing Berhalter back is sponsors.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but U.S. Soccer needs Volvo. They need all these sponsors. They need them. And they can't have some, kicker in the pussy dude on the fucking leading the team. They can't. They just can't. And I'm sorry, that's where we are right now. Sebastian Soto is entitled. Dude, check out every coach he's ever played for.
Yeah.
They've all said it.
100%.
Go all the way back to
Julian
Germany.
Green had the same scenario until just recently.
Yeah, Julian Green fixed his problem.
Thank
all
goodness
right?
for him.
He did, but he had the same problem. But yeah, I don't know about Soto fixing it. Doesn't seem like anywhere he goes, they're like, get the fuck out of here, dude.
Running into 150, almost 155, Derek.
I know. We got to wrap this up in 6 minutes. So, are you guys aware of how often ESPN edited their blackmail? Yes, we talked about that multiple times.
100%. Yeah, we did.
I noticed. Trust me.
Follow-up question for Derek.
Derek, what is the definition of a retraction? Should this not be retracted without knowing any of the specifics? Derek, next one, just in case you want to offer an opinion.
Basically, instead of just making an edit, Maybe you retract it and then come out with a new article with the proper facts or something like that.
Well, you know what happens in the technicalities of links is like you don't want to change the link because you got thousands of people clicking on it. So you keep the same link and you just make the edits there. Otherwise, you're going to lose all kinds of fucking hits. Listen, I'm just telling you how it works. Like they need the hits, but if you change like and repost the story, you have to use a different link queue, and that will change the number of hits you're getting, and you're starting over from zero. So that's not good. End of the day, I cannot believe these people are adults. Yeah, me too. Dortmund fans already making fun of Gio on their boards for asking if mommy and daddy will complain to them if he gets bit. Yeah, that's going to happen.
Unfortunately, the fans are going to carry this on until he's an old man. It literally will continue forever.
I don't know if it'll continue forever because if he becomes a legend at Dortmund, we'll stop talking about it.
We still talk about John Terry and his debacle.
Well,
was the teammate's wife,
That's true.
I mean that still gets brought up. It could be playful ribbing in the sense, like I said, Gio is looking to extend his contract, and people are like, hey, you're gonna have your mom call in, type of thing,
Kind of like I playfully ribbed Winalda about the Harks incident.
I don't know if that was it was playfully in your sense, yes.
And then he said he would never be my friend again.
It's Derek. This is the house seminar for you right now.
True stories.
Opening up that sketch. There you go. But you
story.
did name names. Tactical says 2023 has been crazy, and we're only 5 days into it.
Yeah, I guess it has been.
There you go, Derek. Chris enables you.
What is crazier, this or the Hark story?
Hark story.
No, this, because I think the Hark story lingered around in some sort of like, even though everybody sort of knew the story.
This is before social media in that sense. There wasn't the AOL boards. That's what was around at that point.
Yeah.
The only reason this has any extended life period is because social media is so rampant. The Hark story is by far worse, in my opinion.
How is it worse? Nobody got beat up in that. They just got porked.
I'm just saying, one of my good friends stripping my wife. I'm sorry, Eric. I don't mean to bring this up in here. But I'm just saying that would piss me off. That would piss me off personally. That's my personal take. So no, I'm saying sorry.
Were
Chris,
you even following the U.S. national team at the time? I was.
Yes.
You were? Yes. I was covering it. And everybody knew. Everybody knew.
I'm not saying that everybody did know. Now everybody knows this too. That's the point.
Yeah,
but what's bigger between the two? I would say the Hark story would be bigger in my opinion, personally, because I would feel that stronger than this scenario.
Do you feel that because you think Harks is bigger? A large man?
No, I'm not saying that.
I mean, seriously, how is that bigger? All Harks did, which he denies, by the way, which is really weird since Amy and Eric have said, yeah, he stooped Amy. Amy's like, yeah, he stooped me. And then Harks is like, no, I didn't. What do you mean? What? You just like, no, you didn't.
That never happened.
I don't know what you guys talking about. I didn't stoop no Amy. Well, that's weird since it broke up the whole fucking national team. All right, anyhow, we don't need to go back into that.
No, to my point though, if it was a close friend betraying me with a story, or my best friend stripping, or not my best friend, I don't know if they're best friends or not, but a good friend and teammate stripping my wife, I feel like the whole betrayal of trust there would be bigger than saying a family friend. So I don't know. That's why I'm saying it's bigger.
I might say that if Harks not only stooped Amy but then kicked her twice, but that didn't happen. So this is
but that part of the story happened 31 years ago. And that's not the heat of the argument here between the drama. The drama is you have two friends feuding, and that the Berhalters versus the Reynas. That's the debate. It's not the act that happened 31 years ago.
Yeah, but the Berhalters and the Reynas are fucking U.S. soccer royalty, dude.
Fair enough.
All right. Anyhow, we can agree to disagree. See, we don't always agree on shit. All right. I think Brett's wrong. All right. I can't believe USSF hired goons to visit Derek. Yeah, here's my theory. Not that it's worth the shit. Daniela was pissed about Greg going public. She mentioned to Ernie about the incident, thinking he would stay private, but Ernie had to report domestic violence, so we did. Yeah, no,
Yep,
it's just what we said. HR. Yep. HR alert. I don't think there was blackmail, but who knows? No, there was not.
We barely touched on that, Derek, and you went off earlier on that.
Dude, there was no blackmail. People need to look the fucking word up.
No. So those people who want to have the argument, well, it was blackmail or it wasn't blackmail. The fact of the matter is that Berhalter never said blackmail. USSF never said blackmail. Berhalter insinuated that it was blackmail by saying that an individual is going to leverage a story to try to get me fired from USSF. Which everybody saw that and said, blackmail. Ah!
USSF intimated, from what I understand, to reporters that it is very blackmail-ish.
Sure, the ESPN, and I don't know if they had it in the Athletic per se, but those articles may have had stuff like that. But the USSF actual presser that they posted out, not the actual presser, but the press release, I guess, their story, didn't insinuate blackmail. It said, hey, there's an individual outside the organization that's incorporating inappropriate behavior. So nobody actually used the term blackmail, and that's all legalism right there. They said that so they're not going to get legally hit with blackmail, Like, I never blackmail. That's a suable offense.
Why are so many dumb motherfuckers doing, I shouldn't say that, but putting up posts about blackmail on fucking YouTube? It's not blackmail.
It became
Learn what the fuck blackmail is. Blackmail is when you use something that you have information on somebody that's going to be completely embarrassing, and you use it to your advantage to get something for yourself. Well, this call on December 11th didn't happen until the World Cup was over. There's no way that Danielle's going to benefit in any way unless she just gets a jolly of getting Greg fired, but that's still not blackmail. That's revenge. That's called revenge. So that's not a fucking legal term. People, look it up. Just go Google blackmail. What is it? Look it up. Not you guys. You guys know what blackmail is. But there's so many morons out there putting out blackmail stories. It's just ridiculous. I'm a blackmail, and we are fucking glad to have you here, Keyshawn. We love it. All right.
No contract interference.
No, it could be, but that's a whole
different interference, I guess.
No.
Interrupting with a contract.
No, there are several other things that it could legally take place here, but it's going to be impossible since Greg's already admitted to the story, and the story is true. I don't want to get all to the legal shit.
So the legal shit could occur because the articles have come out and said, like, my sources tell me that Claudio Reyna left several messages threatening, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But nobody's published those messages. Nobody's talked about those messages. And in fact, all of Claudio's interactions up until the 11th had been in person.
Maybe we'll see them later, and then we can have some sort of legal basis to discuss blackmail.
And
or we can have a legal conversation about the fact that the Reynas have been accused of doing things too that they supposedly didn't do, and they can sue the news sources that put out articles that said Claudio Reynas blackmailed Greg. Yeah. All right. So that is not really putting up a fix there, but just like editing the articles. I'm not saying Jeff's article, but there's all kinds of bullshit articles on Yahoo Sports and all over the place that are just jack shit wrong. Like they don't even know half the story. So, all right, we got to get through this.
As everybody points out, especially on social media, is whenever there's an accusation made, show the receipts. Flat out. You can prove it one way or another by showing the receipts. And the story could end now.
Listen, this story could end tomorrow, okay? The story could end tomorrow if Greg and fucking Claudio sat down for a cup of fucking coffee somewhere and just talk this shit out.
Like I said, a plot and a soap opera. That's all this is.
This is not hard to fix. Have you ever had a major blow up with a really good close friend of yours where maybe after a night of drinking you came to fucking blows? Like I have. And guess what? The next morning we sat down, we talked it out. I apologized for the big lump on his forehead, and it was all good. right? It was good.
Yeah.
We were like, and then we laughed about it, like how stupid we were. So, and that was a man. It wasn't a woman. I didn't punch a woman. All right. Alex Vetter question.
Maybe you're going tit for tat with her.
Don't even use the word tit right now. All right. Do y'all think USSF would have kept Berhalter if this fiasco didn't happen? Maybe. I honestly believe they would have. It's very possible. The media was gearing for it by gaslighting the public how great Greg is. Oh, they were stroking it, but there were some that were like, Greg did a good job, but he needs to go anyhow.
We've got our one cycle club. There are definitely pundits out there that are in the same boat with that. And then there are definitely some pundits out there that just love to fluff Berhalter.
Yeah, there are a lot of one cycle guys. Eric was getting slaughtered for falling on the sword for Gio. He is now trending in Twitter. What will be his role in 2026? His role will be the same.
Same thing.
He'll
be a commentator, and he'll continue being a commentator and doing well at it. He'll never have he even talks about it. How there's people like, oh, you need to run for president again. He's like, there's no fucking chance in hell.
Mm-mm.
It's never going to happen.
He is the outcast. He is the black sheep. All right, he's done.
Look at this quad of trending people: Reyna, Berhalter, Winalda, Tuchel.
Tuchel? Who the fuck cares about Tuchel?
Who knows?
Who fucking cares about him?
All right, we're almost done. I think we're done.
Oh, please.
Yeah.
It is. Are we done? Is this it, or I should keep reading?
Do USA expat. We'll go on from here.
Is it me? Is it me, or does it feel like one half of the fan base is waiting to see if the USSF hires a credible manager, and if it's more of the typical BS?
Or I think you meant, or if it's more of the typical BS. I think because basically half the population's out there saying we need to get somebody outside of the USSF family. Whether or not that's somebody in MLS, everybody's like, no, I don't want that. I don't want that. Not everybody. I'm sorry. That population is like, no, it has to be somebody else. But there are people within MLS that aren't part of the USSF family.
Well, listen, this needs to be fixed because, listen, what nobody wants to do is take a trip to somewhere in West Virginia and you have a cabin for rent and you open the door, turn the key, and you open the door and there's some family in there. And it's not just a family. They're all fucking each other and they're all related to each other. And that's what just happened here. Like, we don't need any more of this incest. This is getting gross and disgusting. We need to stop the fucking cabin incest. The cabin fucking incest needs to stop here because this is not working. Mm-hmm. And yes, I wanted more soccer guys in the fucking USSF. I'm glad we got them, but not these guys. They all rub each other's nuts every night before they go to bed. We need people who will disagree with one another, who will challenge one another. We don't need a bunch of nutsuckers.
We don't need yes men. We don't need yes men.
And I'm not calling Mrs. Cohn a nutsucker. I don't know what her role is in all this because I barely hear from her. But the rest of them are fucking clearly rubbing each other's ball sacks. Way too much. I did not. No.
Congratulations, Derek. You've broken the streak.
But I did just talk about a whole cabin full of family members.
Circle jerking family members. Yeah. Well, it's better. It's better than the kids. Let's put it that way. All right, let's finish these last two out and we're done.
Oh, really? Do I have to read Fred Baker?
Read Fred Baker. He's a big fan of ours.
Gio Reyna should be banished from the national team. Oh, fuck it, this guy.
So no,
I'm done.
The reason I'm telling you to read it is because there are people out there that say this.
He says I'm literally shaking. What are you, a fucking 3-year-old child? This makes you shake?
Yeah.
God, this is great. This is unbelievable.
All right, let's hit up Larry here. Larry has the one that
I was boycotting the show over Zimmerman's man bun, but recent U.S. men's national team USSF fuckery brought me back. You were boycotting our show?
Yeah, Larry was boycotting our show because you were circle jerking Zimmerman during the World Cup.
I was?
Yeah. You said, hey, none of those goals are Zimmerman's fault. And
oh, well, because most of them weren't, except for the first one where he pulled the player down in the box. but then there weren't really a whole lot of goals to worry about after
I don't see
that.
Larry in the chat anymore. I'll let Larry know that he made the show. But
All right. I don't even know what Larry you're talking about.
Yeah, Larry's on Twitter. But that's his name, Larry. He's
Larry?
on our chat list, Larry too. But
All right. I don't know who Larry is. I like anybody named Larry. That's an old school name. All right, guys. Thanks for showing up. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. Make sure you share it with people younger than your grandma at this point, because this show is pretty illicit and graphic. But if your grandma likes it, I mean, there are a lot of dirty grandmas out there. Just ask that over 68 prostitute ranch in Nevada that Reyna had to go to. So anyhow, but at least he's not a virgin.
yeah,
Like Pulisic. But hey, Pulisic injured himself after 20 minutes today. What do you know? Unfucking real. Unbelievable. Anyhow, we love it. We love you having you guys here.
We love you guys.
We don't love the injury, but
Yeah.
we love that you're here for the show. And we will be back with more debauchery on Monday. Until the next time on the Straight Red Card, many kisses.
You're gonna do her. Yeah.
Oh no!